A few years ago, the city of San Francisco began issuing marriage licenses to gay and lesbian couples until the courts quickly intervened to stop it. Those first same-sex marriages in California were basically declared null and void. But now, you probably heard, the entire state of California is doing the same thing. This week, California began issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples, joining Massachusetts as only one of two states in the U.S. to actually allow gay marriage. Dr. Shirley Steinberg is our resident culturologist. She's back in studio with us today. And so, first of all, you're American.
I am.
You lived in L.A., grew up in L.A.,
I did.
And you're from New York. Now, is this going to start, in your mind, kind of a bit of a culture war in the U.S.? You got Massachusetts on one coast, California on the other, and what about in the middle?
Well, who in the middle really is going to dare start arguing as a governor for gay and lesbian marriage? It's pretty cutting edge. Now, New York, you know, by the 30th of June, has mandated that the state of New York will recognize all gay and lesbian marriages held outside of New York. So, meaning if you're an employee of New York and you get married in Massachusetts, California, or even Canada, you can come to New York and get same-sex benefits now, which is really quite nice. But then there's 48 other states that aren't buying into this.
Do you think this is part of a movement? You know, because in Canada it started like that. There was one province, then another, then another. So in the States, you know, there are civil unions in Vermont.
Right.
You talked about the New York example. The new governor of New York has been quite open and is actually quite supportive of gay and lesbian marriage. Massachusetts, California. But as you said, there are many, many other states. Part of a widespread movement or not really?
I don't think so. I think the Americans are far too conservative, far too fundamentalist, and far too engaged in the old-fashioned ways of seeing the world. They're still talking the old-time religion there. This is a little blip on the radar screen. I'm not even sure that the Supreme Court won't rule it down. That would be maybe my prediction, that even the California won't last.
And you've talked about how, in your mind, you see the United States, if you look at all the developing countries, developed countries of the world, you think the U.S. may, in fact, be the most conservative.
I think it is. I think it is. Other developed worlds, other first world countries have had this, and it's not a big deal. It's not like it moves into anybody else's territory. Who one marries has nothing to do with anyone else except themselves. But this incredible engagement in fundamentalist return to back to basics religion has just globbed onto the United States to the point the presidential election is being run about church.
Because I guess for some of these people, and they have very, very strongly held beliefs and convictions, they see it as a threat. It's not just live and let live, it's a threat to them. It's
a threat to their own way of life, and yet I have no idea what that means, but it is a threat to their way of life, and that's the cry that they call.
Do you think this is going to be an issue in the upcoming election between McCain and Obama?
I think it's going to be the issue that everyone avoids, because in actuality, McCain has never been all that against it. He just isn't interested in. And Obama has said that he believes in civil unions but not marriage, which to me I think is really nitpicky and sort of a silly comment. Like, what does it matter? What does it matter who marries whom? I still don't understand that. I'm still always astounded at this argument. Trudeau said in the 70s, the nation has no right in people's bedrooms. And yet here the Americans are in the 21st century, still not figuring it out.
But do you think, to be devil's advocate, is there a bit of Canadian snobbery here where we always sort of see ourselves as being, oh, the Americans are 20 years behind us, 30 years behind us? I mean, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, but I think it's true. Having lived in both countries for about 25 years in each country, I do think that. I don't think the Canadians would ever lower themselves to the kind of judgmental, conservative nature of Americans, not in every field.
Very quickly, with the end of George Bush coming up in the next 6 months or so, is that going to mean a shift back towards a more liberal United States?
The United States has never been liberal. I think it might be a sort of normalizing to the center. However, we don't know that Bush III isn't going to come in with McCain.
All right. Dr. Shirley Steinberg.
Thanks, Todd.
Thanks very much for this.